More and more tariffs are coming, this time in the form of foreign auto sales. A 25% tariffs on all vehicles not made in the United States has hit. And the question is, how will the market, specifically the crypto markets, respond to this newest tariff? So far, not so bad, but is that about to change? We're going to have a big conversation today about the crypto markets and what is happening next with all of the news and all the charts that you need. We also have a special guest here. You do not want to miss it. So if you're a friend of the channel, make sure right now to smash that like button. Let YouTube know that this is going to be a good video. If you're new here, thank you so much for choosing the Investing Bros today. Stick around till the end, and maybe you might like what you hear. But first, we got to roll the intro. Welcome on into the Investing Bros live show, everybody. It is good to be here. We got some great people here on the show today. Of course, always, we got Smay, we got T-Shroom, but we are joined today by one of the co-founders of our new sponsor, Bitcoin IRA, and that is Chris Klein. And you might think, well, is he here just to pitch Bitcoin IRA the whole time? We will talk about that a little bit later, but this guy also follows the markets, and he's going to be a bro with us today, giving us feedback on what he's seeing. A lot of great insight. So everyone give a warm welcome to Chris in chat. Chris, I'm going to get to you here in a second. I'm going to save you for last, but I'm going to ask the guys the same question as I do every day. Smay, how are we doing today, my friend?
Well, Tim, I'm doing fantastic. I will be honest with you, though. Today was a day that I just needed to, have a little Celsius, and I'm already feeling the heart palpitations. So if the stream just stops switching all of a sudden, then you know what happened to me. Call 911. But I think we'll be fine. Tim, how are you?
Yeah. I'm doing great, man. Had some great trades this morning, some more trades this afternoon. We're getting into the trading space right now. We're going more scalps, more day trades, and so far, so good. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We're doing a lot of winning. That's going to have our bad days, but today's a good day. T-Shroom with the hodl hat on over here. How are we doing today, T-Shroom?
I'm doing great. The market is getting very sideways. Some may even say it's getting a little bit boring. This is exactly how you like it if you're looking for value in the crypto space. I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim. I really am.
Very glad. And of course, I had to save the best for last. It's hard in this group of guys. It's hard to save the best looking guy for last, but we managed it. Chris, my friend, we met last year at the Bitcoin Nashville, and it's so good to have you on the channel. We're finally getting this going. How are you doing today, my friend? How your travel from Cali over here into Atlanta?
Yeah, it's been quite a week. I'm feeling 40. I turned 40 last Friday, so a little belated birthday. And I've been in New York for 3 days, got into Atlanta last night. And you know what? I'm just thrilled to be with the bros because I've been on broadcast media, mainstream media, and they are just foaming at the mouth to bash anything and everything crypto, Trump, Elon, etc. And I'm glad to be back with my people.
There we go. Well, you're in good company here. We won't bash you at all for any of your takes. T-Shirt, any questions before we get going?
I'll have to look into who this Trump Elon people are. I'll have to look into who that is. I'm not sure, but sure we'll find out.
All right. Real quickly, before we get into all the details, it is time to go into our minute-long news wrap-up with Shroom. There's a lot of headlines hitting today that will affect your crypto holdings. T-Shroom, what are the big headlines today?
Absolutely, Tim. Well, we started off the morning with some data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. GDP came out and was a beat. Consumer spending was a miss. Price index was a beat. PCE was in line, and core PCE price was a beat as well. Jobless claims came in and was a beat. Continuous jobless claims was a beat as well. SUI getting a big boost here from the Walrus mainnet, which is live. Congrats to Walrus Protocol on their mainnet launch, leveraging SUI, designed for scalability, flexibility, and security. Moving along here, Ferrari has increased prices by 10% in response to President Trump's tariffs. Chainlink announcing some pretty big stuff here. The future has never been brighter. Last night in DC, key leaders from the U.S. government and the blockchain industry attended a private dinner hosted by Chainlink Digital Chamber to discuss the next stage of digital asset adoption. Very exciting stuff. And then we get to the tariffs. U.S. to impose 25% tariff on foreign-made cars starting as soon as April 3rd. Then it gets bullish. It gets bullish again. Senator Moreno calls for the bill to buy 1 million Bitcoin to be passed by August. And that's pretty bullish. That also took place at the Digital Chamber. And Layer Zero became the Wyoming's token issuance partner for newly announced stable coins. Wyoming getting their own stable coin, that's interesting, and tapping Layer Zero to make it all happen. Earlier this morning, we had a very bullish headline here. This one's kind of gotten swept under the rug, but Interactive Brokers adds Solana, XRP, Cardano, Doge. Let me know in the chat which of those is your favorite. Which of those do you hold? But let me give you a little bit of perspective. In 2024, the total value of client trades executed on the Interactive Brokers platform did reach 1.39 trillion. So they have some very significant volume over there on that exchange. And we covered this one yesterday. I'll go ahead and mention it again because some of you may have seen GameStop's chart today. But yesterday, GameStop announced a raise of $1.3 billion to fund an initial Bitcoin purchase. Some bullish news in there mixed with some more Trump tariff updates, which are causing jitters, causing uncertainty in the market. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But Tim, that's our news.
Well, we're going to get into some charts here in just a second, get Chris and T-Shroom's take on a lot of these articles as well. But really quickly, before we get into this charts, this episode is brought to you guys by Bitcoin IRA, a new sponsor of the channel. Whether you think of yourself as being young or you think of yourself as being old, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle, it's never too late or too early to start worrying about your retirement. And crypto is going to be the number one tool to get there. I'm going to tell you a secret, guys. The US dollar, it's depreciating every single year. Shocker, I know. A lot of you guys didn't know that before right now, but that is the truth. Why not find an asset that is growing and growing and growing? And with Bitcoin IRA, it is the perfect spot to start. If you don't have an IRA right now, or if you want to transition into crypto, the number one Roth IRA crypto platform is Bitcoin IRA. Of course, we're joined by Chris Day. We're going to save some questions on that for the end. So if you have questions, thoughts, concerns about your retirement, ask them today because Chris is with us and you don't know when he'll be back. But shout out to Bitcoin IRA for sponsoring this episode. Let's get into talk here with Bitcoin's chart. Now, we're going to talk about the tariffs, right? The big thing about today is there was more tariff news, and Bitcoin did slightly respond. It went down to almost exactly where we talked about yesterday on the show. We discussed 85,800 and it did it once again. Why is that zone so important? Well, it's because it's a part of this rising channel that we've been tracking ever since back here on March 10th. It continues to maintain its movements. Here's what I'll say, though. We're going to get into some conversations later in the show about what the tariff news means and how the future looks like in all that regard. But the reality is, if you're not tracking this, every single new headline that comes out with tariffs, whether good or bad, has come with way less volatile news. Let me know in chat. Do you think that the tariff information, good or bad from here on out, is already baked in and will have little effect on the markets? Or do you think that we're doomed for some big fallout tomorrow in a late response to this new tariff information? At the end of the day right now, though, we are continuing to track a little bit of a bearish move on the 4-hour chart, but with us hitting this local support, there's some support we talked about here yesterday. Let's start to look through the technicals here. Again, a buy signal coming on the 1-hour chart, but we did come down and we hit a green support zone here. We cleared out some big liquidations. Let's go to liquidations here and look at the 10-minute chart. I think is where we wanted to get there, is where we were looking yesterday. There we go. Yeah, you can see here we came down today, took out all of these liquidations that we mentioned yesterday. So that's the first level. If we do end up going bearish, we do have a big stack that still comes down towards 84. I believe if we go out to the hourly chart, you have a stack that comes all the way down here towards 83,000, excuse me. We did this zone yesterday. If support is lost, the next level to the downside to keep an eye on, this $83,000 to $82,000 level. Why is that something that even should be legitimately considered, despite the fact that I'm about to tell you why I think things go to the upside? It's because, like I said, we are in a rising channel at the moment. And that rising channel, if you study technical analysis, traditionally will have a sell-off point, and you take the volatility of the opening of that position, you move it over to where we eventually will get a breakout. If it's right here or if it's down the road, we will have a move to the downside. This one actually saying 80K is on the table. But again, if we have support, we move back up. If we do make our way potentially back up towards 91K, look for a breakout back down towards 82 with that position just a little bit later. Now, with that said, the reason I'm bringing that up is because despite the fact that I am bullish, I'm always aware if certain support levels are lost, where should we look to at the bottom? Right now, the key level that needs to be defended by Bitcoin to maintain its bullishness pretty much is right here at 86,000. We cannot lose and close candles below this green line. Otherwise, again, 83, 82, maybe even 80K is a little bit away. But what we are still monitoring at the moment, and I want to be brief here because I want to get into more conversation, look at a lot of charts. You guys know we are in a swing long position at the moment here at the Investing Bros trading group. We're still monitoring a bigger move to the upside because of buy signals from Luxago on the daily chart and the 2 daily chart. And that target keeps getting a little lower, but it's still sitting up here just a little north of $91,000. Last week, we were looking at 92. Earlier this week, we were looking at 91.8. Now we are looking at about 91,200. But traditionally, the reason why that's so valid is because when you get a buy signal, green reversal, bullish momentum, positive money flow on the Luxago oscillator, rarely, especially when you're still maintaining longer term higher highs and higher lows, rarely do we not see a brief touch back towards this smart trail, and that price action on the low end coming in at 91.2. All of this, of course, still wrapped inside a longer-term bearish position where the 2-weekly chart still is sitting under a sell signal, red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow, and that target is coming in at 74. So still a lot of volatility, up and down and up and down and up and down. It's all about what time frame you are looking at. I see Servando Estrada says yo-yo, and he's 100% right. The markets 100% sometimes act like yo-yos. Bitcoin for weeks now has been working its way down. Let me turn off some of the noise here. Has been working its way down from 109,000. We've reached as low as 76,700, but none of that was a straight line. Look at all of the volatility that came in throughout this process. If you think this volatility is over, I don't think it is. We very easily could get ourselves a little bit of a bullish fake out, hit that 91.2, and still make our way down for a new low in the year 2025 before the bull market takes off and up to the right. But let me know in the comments, are you guys still on board with Tim's trajectory? So far, so good right now, right? I'm on pace. I'm on track with everything that I'm thinking is going to happen. But do you think I'm going to be invalidated? Do you think I'm going to be wrong here? And which way am I going to be wrong? Does 91 not get hit? Does 74 not get hit? Let me know in the comments. But before we move on to other charts and other stories, I want to camp out right now on the macro perspective of Bitcoin. And specifically today, it seems like the news that keeps coming out anytime we get bullish trajectories, we seem to always get hit with a new tariff piece of information. Is Trump manipulating the markets? Is he trying to bring it back down? What is going on with tariffs? I want to start off with you, Chris, and get your take on this. It's really cool to get someone on the channel. We've had a couple other of our sponsors come on and talk with us. I don't know if any of them follow the markets and are just crypto knowledgeable as you are. No offense to any of the rest of them. You're just a really cool dude who has a lot of thoughts on the markets. I know from talking to you in Nashville, you can't necessarily get into price predictions, I believe is what you said, but you can talk to us about what the markets are looking like, what you're seeing on the front lines of an exchange or a Bitcoin IRA and how people are treating their money. That's the biggest indicator of what the markets are thinking about. How are people spending or buying up their money? Give me your take right now on the tariff information as a whole. How do you see this affecting the crypto markets short-term and long-term?
Well, I think first you got to think most folks knew that once Trump got elected, he made it very clear on his campaign trail that this was going to be a shift from the Internal Revenue Service to the External Revenue Service. And that's what he's using tariffs for. And it's also a trade negotiation tactic. I think what that first piece of news that T-Shroom was talking about where we beat GDP, we're going to start seeing some misses on GDP on future economic indicators. And that's simply because we're cutting the fat out of the government. And a lot of the GDP growth we've seen over the last 4, 8, maybe even 12 years has been government jobs, government fat, government pork and waste. And we're getting rid of that. So in essence, we're letting the air out of the balloon a little bit. And this is healthy from an economic perspective. You've seen in past times where the government will instead start injecting more. Just before Biden left office, he just dropped secretly $300 billion more injected into the marketplace. These things will eventually cause a balloon to burst like they did in 08, like they did in 01. We could go back all the way to the 1700s with these bursts. worse. This is healthy because we're letting a little air out of the balloon and we're going to rebuild back stronger than where we were before. So that's my macro take on it. Now let's pivot a little bit to the crypto world. So I represent a platform of about 200,000 users and about $14 billion of assets under custody. These are self-directed users. They don't do what I tell them to do, except for they call me and I don't give them financial advice. But what I've noticed over the last billion and a half, so that's about 7-8 months worth of transactions, we've generally stayed by, if you look at month by month, in about a 50-50 ratio of purchases versus liquidations. So for every buyer, there's a seller in dollar volume. What I noticed this month in particular, in March, which is the first month in a while we haven't broken 90, I think since March 3rd or 6th, is that the ratio has shifted. We're now at about 2/3 in purchases, so a bullish heavy mentality of our buyers versus about a third in the liquidation world. So this sell-off is definitely not scaring off the long-term hodlers in our space, and probably driving them to double down a little bit as they prepare for the tax deadline that's coming up here in just a few weeks on April 15th. It's their last chance to put funds in your account as a contribution for last year's tax season.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good point. I know you can't go into too much detail, but I don't, tell me if this question is off limits and you can't really respond to it. I loved your analogy when you said that some of the things that have been done, you're creating a bubble, and that bubble, if it bursts, can get very ugly, like 08, like 2001, like all the way back into the 20s back during the Great Depression. We're letting some air out right now, okay? First of all, how do you think that's going? Do you think we have enough air let out, or do you see a little more air coming out? And secondly, again, this is where I don't know if you can answer it. Is there a price level for you that would concern you that things are about to get a whole lot worse? But as long as we stay above this level, people really should calm down about all the bear market conversation.
Having been in Bitcoin for so long now, I mean, that's where my gray hairs came from. I'm about my 10th year or 11th year now in this. A 30% shift really is something that I've seen time and time again, both on the tops, on the run and on the bear. And so we're what, 108 down to, I would say if we start getting in the 75 zone, I get a little bit nervous. But this is what happens. I think T-Shroom said it best. Sideways markets, crypto buyers, whether you're a long-term veteran or a rookie noob, we are insatiable for action. And so when this thing sits range bound, even for a week or 2 weeks, it gets boring, is what I think the word that T-Shroom. And that's where I get a little nervous about boring, because it can drive capitulation. There was definitely a lot of new entrants into the market space after we saw the run from November, basically election day through inauguration day. We had a huge run, and you got the FOMO that kicked in. So you got people walking in and they're thinking, and new buyers, new entrants are always like, oh, I'm going to look at this. I can't wait. They get that thirst for it. And then it doesn't happen. And those are the folks that are usually scamper away very quickly because they're not as veterans. They've not been through these things. It's a patience game. And let's not forget the underlying component. I was preaching this all week on Wall Street. Having. We haven't even gotten near the 450 to 550 day time period where we're expected to see peaks. And I'm a big believer. I don't make predictions, but I do put a badge of honor on a few of them. I think that some folks talking 150, 200 Bitcoin this year, they're not crazy. They're the same guys that said we were going to see 100. I said when I saw you guys, I remember in July of last year at Nashville, I said 100K by Christmas Day. And I was a little late, actually. It hit it well before Christmas Day. So it's a patience game. You do amazing technical analysis. I just absolutely love it, Tim. But when my world, when in doubt, zoom out and just remind yourself where we're at overall as an economy. Now, as far as letting a little bit more air out of the balloon, yeah, there's more to come. There's more cuts and waste, which is what's driving this economy, is government spending. I mean, when you're talking about then what percentage of the GDP is government versus private enterprise, I think that's what this administration is trying to balance out, is let's get back to rolling up our sleeves, picking up our bootstraps, be the Americans we know how to be, and build great things. And let's stop injecting, in essence, it's kind of just fake or fugazi growth that we've seen injected by past administrations over the years. And that's both sides of the aisle. That's not just one side or the other.
Yeah. Very cool. Very, very good information. Again, I agree with a lot of what you're saying right there. I want to give a quick shout out to Larry from Stock Up with Larry Jones, good friend of the channel. He is in chat saying, "What's up, good people?" What's up, Larry? If you guys don't know Larry, I think he's been back here for a couple weeks. I know he had some family stuff going on. So Larry, we've been praying for you. Hope everything is good with your family. Love seeing you in chat. Before we move on, T-Shroom, any thoughts from you? Any questions before we move on from this topic and get into some altcoin conversations? I know we're going to talk a little bit Chainlink, a little bit of SUI. We're going to talk about the GME stock yesterday that exploded up, and then today came right back down. Eliminated a lot of gains here. Any questions about the tariff situation, the overall economy for Chris before we move on?
Yeah, well, Chris, I'm curious about something that we don't have much insight on just as retail traders and investors, which is the over-the-counter markets. I don't know if you have any insights on that either, but what do you see? What do you hear? Is that market drying up? Is there plenty of liquidity? Maybe you could shed some light on something like that.
Yeah, I've been working with the OTC partners since 2016 when we did our first Bitcoin IRA way back then. I've never found them to have much of a liquidity pinch. And that's because they manage their books relatively well. They'll have parts of their book that's just people doing cross-border payments or settlements. And then you basically have a person that's using the Bitcoin for to pay for something, and then the guy on the right is selling it off for another currency or another asset. So they get to a lot of net zero days where there's not a lot of change in their portfolio. I haven't noticed a lot of that now, but that brings a good point that I was talking with a friend about the other day. Is we are just about 7 years, which will go. I mean, once you get old, it's like that, right? In 7 years, miners will be competing for less than 1 Bitcoin per block. And I think that's where you're going to start seeing these supply crunches that take place, that these groups like OTCs and others are going to have to change the way they manage their book. Now, you don't see that stuff on the day-to-day exchanges, right? That's not in the data that you're constantly looking at. But no, from my standpoint, I haven't seen any concerns about drying up on liquidity there.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
That's a good question, T-Shroom, because we were talking about this yesterday with China potentially on the verge of buying Bitcoin. These rumors have been circulating for a year at least. That is,
Tim, are they letting?
Yeah.
Are they letting their people buy Bitcoin, or are they as the People's Republic of China? What's the rumor? I haven't heard that.
What's the difference?
I would say. I mean, someone in chat, correct me if I'm wrong. It would make sense that China's government would say before they let any of their people buy up the dip, they'd want to buy the dip first, and then they can say, "Look, our people can be used as our exit liquidity." That would be my guess. I think the rumors, the rumblings that we were getting is that there was closed doors meetings about the government buying Bitcoin. If you guys have been in crypto for a while, or if you haven't, I mean, I've been in since 2020. And the ups and downs of how China has handled Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. At 1 minute, they're banning it. Then they're saying, never mind, it's okay. And then they're banning it again. And, now we're talking about them actually buying it. I think there's a video coming out on Alpha Broz channel, our sister channel. Crux is going to be doing very soon about how much Bitcoin China currently owns in the same way America owns some in terms of confiscation. They say that the numbers right now say America owns more than China, right? So everyone's like, okay, America number one. Crux is going to get into some details there. It's actually not that simple. China actually currently has more Bitcoin than the United States. But we'll save that conversation for that video. Crux is going to do some great stuff. They're going to more than likely, if they start buying, and more than likely probably the United States government too. When governments start getting in, they're probably going to be buying over the counter, in which some of the fears and concerns that our community has kind of brought to light is they're saying, man, when over the counter purchases happen, that has no effect on price, to which they're true in the sense of immediately. Yes, no, there was no increased volume that didn't actually affect any demand or supply because, again, it's over the counter, it's off the books, it's not coming into the equation. I think it's interesting you say that there's still a lot of liquidity there, which means, it could still take a while to feel the pain. But at the end of the day, if these massive institutions like MicroStrategy and then the United States government and then the Chinese government and who knows how far Russia is behind that and several other large entities, if they start buying up all the over-the-counter, like you said, these guys have clients, they have business. They're going to have to go keep those bags filling in which case it becomes a delayed effect where
it's like a lag on a turbo on a car. It's that lag that you have that you'll see it kicks in. Exactly. That's a great metaphor for it. Yep.
Yeah, like I guess like a whip even. Like you don't, the minute you shake the whip doesn't mean you get the crack. It's a whole effect that goes on down the road and then bam.
Or lightning and thunder, right? You see the flash And then you hear the thunder. No, it's
Perfect.
what's also interesting is Qatar is on that list now, and
Yes.
individual U.S. states, Arizona, Texas, others are saying, "Hey, we're taking a page out of Sailor's book too. Let's balance our budget. Let's add to our balance sheet with cryptocurrency as an individual." Remember, we're a people's republic of states, so we're a republic of the United States. So the states have their autonomy to do these types of things as well.
Mhm.
It's crazy. We started where there's smoke, there's fire. We started something with the conversation when we were together in Nashville in July of the Loomis and the announcement of this, and now we're putting pen to paper. And it's not just a bill on Capitol Hill like Schoolhouse Rock. It's coming to fruition. They did say net neutral. You know what I'd be really excited to see is a use of the Rust Belt and manufacturing in the U.S. as part of the mining power of our country. I think that would be where you really start seeing it's not just about holding Bitcoin, but controlling the power of the creation of the next block.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very good stuff there. Yeah. All right. Well, let's transition here. We could probably talk about this for 3 more hours at least, but we got other topics to discuss. And the transition is there. We're going to get into some altcoin conversation. And again, Chris, tell me if you cannot answer this question. No problem. You can't. Do you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 favorite altcoins that you like? Are you allowed to tell people what's in your portfolio?
I think so. I mean,
yeah. So what are your favorite altcoins right now for long-term holds?
So I'm not a maxi, but I'm predominantly Bitcoin in my book, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that's just because I've been in it long enough. The first asset we added was Bitcoin. And then a year later, we grew it with Ethereum. And almost every single coin we add, so we have 85, I have a little bit of each. Right now, I'm this is from talking to other folks in my space, also clients. Rocket Ron, number 11, calls me every day with news. He's very bullish on XLM and XRP and got me a little bit of the bug on those two. I did play with SUI a little bit and got burned a little bit just because I'm so busy and I come in a little bit late and then so I'm just waiting. I think it's back up to with a 10% gain today. It's like 275 somewhere around there. So
yeah, it's not 277. Yeah,
277. So it's obviously recovering. That's some great news from Walrus. Alt season's still a few months out. I think what you're going to see is there'll be good news like Chainlink with the news that they had at the digital commerce. The Chamber of Commerce stuff that was happening. I think that you're going to start seeing news. And the big thing for me is, and this isn't that I love them, but I get how the politics are working with this new administration, America first. And I think that American-made altcoins are probably going to see a pretty solid alt season run, simply because that's what Americans do, where consumers love to buy American. I mean, remember, like after 9/11, there were billionaires made in selling American flags and American flag pins and American flag mugs and American flag mouse pads. Americans love American. And so if we can get that education across to them, I think that the handful of altcoins that are truly American made are going to be really powerful.
Yeah,
I guess I answered that question without giving you the full disclosure.
That was a very good answer. I want to even, before we get into this conversation, just even kind of what you're saying there, I would love, let's get Americans buying American-based crypto. Let's get the Chinese people buying Chinese-based crypto. Let's get Europeans buying European-based crypto. I think some people sometimes get really worked up and opinionated and offended, and they're like, man, I don't like this whole American-based crypto. You're encouraging centralization and yada, yada. We want decentralized where anyone can do anything. It's like, listen, I say this all the time, Chris. I don't know if we're used to it, but I can sit back and cry and whine and complain about the fact that big boys who have more money than me get to control the markets at a way higher level than I do. I can complain about that, but never in the history of mankind has sitting and complaining and whining ever worked out in a positive way for people. Or you can just decide to suck it up and realize you don't get to make decisions. You're going to follow the big boy money. And if big boy money says we want American-based cryptocurrencies that are centralized, well, as much as I love decentralization, I also like making money. And I'm going to go buy the coins that the big boys are buying. And if that's American-based centralized currencies, like I love XRP. We're not going to sit here and try to tell people XRP is a champion of decentralization, right? Probably the same thing for Solana. Probably the same thing for a couple of these altcoins that are going to pop off. They're going to make money. People are going to invest really well in them. In fact, with this being an institutional bull market, the more centralized a project, that could even look more enticing to investors that can get in here and make some money. So, that's a conversation for another day to talk about decentralization versus centralization. But some people just, they get worked up. They complain about the unfairness of everything. And it's like, you know what? go for it. It's not going to do you any good. Find the coins that everyone else is getting in line to buy and try to buy it early.
Yep. And that we've had that chance for the last decade. Crypto has been the great democratization of money for all of us. It's just listening to the voices inside your head and actually saying, you know what, this is the people's currency. This is my chance to not, almost every other financial instrument in our lifetime, at least in mine, has been the big boys get rich and then the retail players come in as the liquidity for those guys that got in early, like you were talking about with China. And this is the time where the tables have turned. And that's part of what just why I wake up every morning just amped about what's going on. Good news, bad news, or otherwise. I said this on Yahoo on Tuesday. We are on a train that is backed by scarcity and store value and revolutionized thought about money that cannot be stopped. And no matter who's complaining for the day, we're here. We've been through 3 administrations as crypto at this point, and we're not going anywhere.
There we go. Well, there was 2 coins you mentioned we're going to talk about today because they have some headlines today. Number 1, SUI. And I know you said you've been burned a little bit. I understand. You must have been
not burned. I haven't lost money. I haven't lost money because remember, it's a realized or unrealized loss or gain. I thought it was going to do a little bit more. But I'm patient. You just got to be. You have to put yourself in a patience play.
Well, we'll go to the chart here real quickly. I loved you said something that I say to the chat all the time. Before you freak out, zoom out, right? Even this big correction that SUI made over the last couple of weeks since January, take a look at where it bottomed out. It go right back to the resistance of February and April of 2024. We're just retapping former resistance, but something bigger happening, and T-Shroom's going to tell us why here in a couple minutes, and I'm going to do more. I'm going to shoot a video right after the live stream today about SUI, our next what the heck is going on video, our cryptocurrency updates. SUI's breaking out a major resistance level, one of the few coins right now that's doing this. Almost everything is in a falling channel or a falling broadening wedge or a falling wedge in general. SUI has not set a higher high just yet. Okay, so we're going to keep a watch out for that, but it has broken now for the last 2 days. It's breaking out above this resistance level. It's a major win for SUI holders. And even if we have a little bit of a pullback, this is a beginning of the next big step for SUI. Is SUI about to go on some special run? We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm going to save the rest of my technical analysis for the video coming out. I don't even know what time tonight. It's going to come out tonight at some point. Be looking for that either tonight or tomorrow morning. But T-Shroom, what is the catalyst in the news right now that is sending SUI's price to the upside?
Yeah, well, if you go over to my screen, I'll show you. So SUI and Tesla are now paired. Just kidding. But Tesla chart does look a lot like SUI here. And if it's any foreshadowing, SUI should break out. No, it's Walrus. Walrus is getting everybody very excited. The mainnet is live. Congrats to Walrus on their mainnet launch, leveraging SUI designed for scale, flexibility, and security. It's really a way to transform how apps use and engage with data. So, this is just a huge upgrade, much anticipated. It's got an awesome name, Walrus. Who doesn't like a cute little walrus? They've got their animation promotion here. This is what's drawing attention, and this is what's getting investors kind of more excited, more engaged with the name and the SUI ticker.
Yeah, I was looking into this a little earlier because the chat brought it up during the VIP live trading today at noon. And I'll be honest with you, I hadn't heard of it yet. But my first thought was like, hey, can you look at Walrus coin? Well, let's think about this. The name of the coin is called Walrus. It's like hours old, right? It just went live today. And I'm just sitting here saying like, oh, it's another meme coin. But we were looking into it. It's like, man, decentralized storage is going to compete with the likes of Arweave and what was the other one? Arweave and Filecoin, I believe, or as our good friend Jim Cramer likes to call Philcon. But anyway, so, here's the thing. I'm not a fundamental expert. This is where Crux really comes in and is a very valuable member of our team. He's going to be making a video soon. He's got a lot of videos to make, Crux. Got to get that alpha out there. But he's going to make a video all about what Walrus is and what its likelihood to compete is. But, yeah, there's a spark here today. A very new, cool project on SUI. It's going to be prioritized. I know we just talked about decentralization versus centralization. It doesn't really matter. But listen, if the people love the decentralized aspect of that data storage, Walrus doesn't need to have a market cap of 100 billion to do well and to do a lot of good stuff here. So very exciting. We're going to talk a little more about that tonight's video. What the heck is going on with SUI? But really quickly, Chris, just want to give you the opportunity in case you know anything. Do you know anything about Walrus? Have you looked into this coin yet? Do you have any thoughts about it?
No, I did have the first inclination like you was, okay, another meme coin, right?
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
usually they have the cutest little characters, which is great. You know, my 11-year-old daughter loves them as well. She's like Pepe. She thinks Pepe is the funniest little guy in the world.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a lot of homework, but I will before I come on next time. I'll do a little bit of homework and have some insights for you on that, and I'll reach out to some of the other experts I talked to and get some thoughts.
Very cool. Very cool. Like I said, look forward to a SUI video coming out tonight. I'll go deeper into the charts, give you some good support and resistance to keep an eye on. There's another headline with one of our favorite cryptocurrencies, another one that Chris mentioned, Chainlink. Now, the Chainlink price isn't going berserk. We'll take a look at the chart here in just a second on Chainlink, but it feels like every single day a new headline about Chainlink and their space in crypto moving forward. They're taking a big leadership space in how regulation is going to look and how the Web3 and Web2 merge is going to happen. If you're not excited about the future of Chainlink, I don't know what to tell you. The fundamentals are just piling up that this coin is going to be special. I've said, Chris, tell me if you think I'm crazy here. I know you can't give price predictions. I get called crazy because I believe there's a chance, keyword here is chance. There's a chance that Chainlink ends up going over $300 to $400 billion in market cap, and we might see 400 or higher dollar per coin. I think my realistic target is closer to about 300. But people call me crazy. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about how special Chainlink can be?
Well, you're betting on the picks and shovels of the next generation of this. Like you said, Web 2 and 3 have to come together. And the government is looking for the first time, thank goodness. They're actually coming to us, the experts in this space, and going, okay, how does this all work? How are these, how does Chainlink make these cross bridges between these? Because we need this if we're going to have continued clarity and guardrails in this space. So instead of just a blanketed rubber stamp negative that we've seen for the last 4 years, we're seeing hey, let's sit down at the table and let's understand this. And the infrastructure behind this is going to be players like Chainlink for sure. Also, having met their leadership, 5 years ago, I think now, I can't even remember at a conference. These guys are players. They take this very seriously. I think a few of them are former Wall Street, and so they understand that there has to be. And I guess I'll go on the Schoolhouse Rock theme: a conjunction unction between traditional and crypto markets, and they hope. I think they're going to position themselves perfectly to be in that bridge.
Yeah, 100% agree. T-shirt, anything you want to add to that before we go look at the Chainlink charts?
Yeah, so there was a big event, and it looks like Chainlink, was a main sponsor of that event. Private dinner hosted by Chainlink, the Digital Chamber, to discuss the next stage of digital asset adoption. Sergey Nazarov being present at that event, shaking hands, shaking the right hands, probably making some connections with people who can make very big decisions at a high level. Let's see how the charts and see how the market is processing all this new information about Chainlink.
Yeah, the good old classic, kissing some hands and shaking some babies. Every good leader knows how to do it. Let's go take a look at the chart here. It's almost like cryptocurrencies trade very similarly when you look at the charts. It's very similar. If I didn't tell you what I was looking at, some of you might think that I was just looking at the Bitcoin chart right now because it's eerily similar. Oh, the wrong one there. Look, that Bitcoin chart there. Like, there's almost no difference between these two charts. And yet one of them is Bitcoin, one of them is Chainlink. The other thing, again, we're wrestling with a lot of resistance right now on Chainlink that if it can break out, could be pretty good. We have a long-term resistance level on Chainlink, this red line right here. We're kind of butting up into it, but in a smaller time from here on the 4-hour chart, you got this rising channel in play. This green line has continued to hold up as support. Right now, that would put us somewhere in the world of 1480, 1490 is going to be some pretty strong support. Chainlink needs to keep defending to move in the bullish direction. But we're also wrestling with this resistance. Would this send Chainlink's price plummeting back down, maybe back down towards levels we haven't seen in a long time, back below $12, $11.35, give or take? Or are we gearing to break out and break to the upside and move back to $20? This could end up being a failure, right? So I don't want to necessarily count the chickens before they hatch. But one of the reasons why I'm bullish right now on Chainlink and making a move above is we're still sitting under this daily buy signal, the one that came in way back here on March 14th, give or take. It's both the daily and the 2-daily right now, giving us some good buy signals. And unless the bears can just mount up a massive rally, and they're sitting at the resistance to do so, we're going to watch Chainlink really want to make its way, at least, if we go back to the daily chart, at least back up here towards 1750. But that 2-daily chart coming in telling us 18 to 20 is back on the table. And then we could be running into the next major level of descending resistance. If I turn all these charts off, you'll see from these highs we had in December and then in January, we haven't revisited that trend line yet. That trend line back towards $20. That's right where that 2 daily smart trail is sitting. Is that the target? Is that the target for Chainlink? Big move still coming. It will come down to, can Chainlink successfully break above this resistance right here, this descending level around $15.90, $16 range. Keep an eye on Chainlink for big things coming. Again, if it rejects, it moves back down. Keep an eye on the green line. If the green line is lost, all of a sudden we will be looking at targets down here. If I were to take example this opening, just like we did with Bitcoin, because again, these charts are borderline identical. If we end up losing this green line, again, we could make our way towards 1284. Then we have some support here, and then we're talking about sub $12 again. So be ready for either direction, but I am leaning a little bullish at this time on one of my favorite coins, Chainlink. With that said, let's transition here. And let's get into some chat and some questions. But I also wanted to talk with you, Chris, while we have you here, just about Bitcoin IRA in general. If people have never heard of the company, which that probably most of you guys have heard of Bitcoin IRA, they are the largest crypto Roth IRA firm. So let's start off. Let's pretend I'm a knuckle dragger right here. You know, I have no idea even what a Roth IRA is. What does Bitcoin IRA do? And why are you guys as a company just so successful at serving your thousands, if not, hundreds of thousands of clients?
Yeah, I mean, the main challenge we were trying to answer for folks, especially like your audience, is okay, I am into crypto, but I also know that at the end of the day, the tax man's coming for my gains, and especially with some of the analysis that you do, and if your audience is following some of these trades, if you're trading as regularly as it looks like, or even if you're just a long-term hodler, you come to forget that there's about 20% of whatever asset you're holding. So if you're a Bitcoiner, you probably have about 20% less than you think you have, because at some point in time, whether you pass it down, spend it and use it in retirement or otherwise, you're going to eat that. You're going to take that capital gains and that income tax from the government. So this is just a beautiful tool. We used what already existed. We didn't create something new. We used a self-directed IRA tool that gave you not just Roths, by the way, which are the best because you get tax-free distributions, so you can turn $5,000 into $500,000 and never pay taxes on that as you take it out later in life. But we also have traditional IRAs. We have SEP IRAs. SEPs are very popular because almost everybody in this gig economy has some kind of side hustle or side business. You can also contribute a lot more with those. So that's the challenge we were trying to answer was, okay, people want alternatives. We're trying to help Americans retire. They need access to alternatives, and they need access to use the tools the government has given us. If we long-term save and put some money aside, we get tax advantage settings out of that. Does that help answer that for you, Tim? Absolutely.
I mean, you got me sold. I am getting that set up ASAP. B-Ball Golf has a good question, because there's going to be a lot of good questions you guys can ask us over time. We're going to have Chris back on again soon, but let's pile up those questions. He said, can I eventually transfer a Bitcoin from my IRA to a wallet after I retire?
Yes. So that's the one beautiful part about our program is, unlike the ETFs, which they're out there, right? You could go to Fidelity, you could buy IBIT and any of the ETFs. You're basically buying just a proxy certificate. We had a guy back in the day that worked with us that would say, if the boat's going down, do you want a life jacket or a life jacket certificate? And that's really what ETFs are. So, and you also cannot distribute in kind. So we've actually now had, you would think that we're a young man or woman's game as far as crypto and an IRA, but back in 2020, we discovered that 75% of our clients were born before 1976. So you're talking about 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 65-year-olds. So now they're starting to reach their retirement age, or at least distribution age of 59 and a half, or required at 72. And you can take, and we'll show you how to do it. The easiest way is we just open up a non-IRA account at our trust custodian that we are vertically integrated with, and we move one Bitcoin over to there. If you want to take it to there, from there to your private wallet, we'll do that as well. We'd have a lot of security parameters. The biggest risk in crypto, in my opinion, today is the individual themselves. Whether you have a risk of SIM swapping or having your email hacked or those things. And if you're not in an exclusively cold storage environment, which we are, but then also in order to move those crypto out, we'll do several layers of identification, some AI identity verification, and you'll get down on a video with a human being to verify some some details about yourself as a person to avoid the deep fakes and those types of things. So yes, absolutely possible, and becoming more and more popular because I'm 40, so I've got about 19 and a half years before I can start taking out of my IRAs. But when I do, I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep going long-term with the crypto. I have no need for it, and I would rather continue to stay in a non-fiat world. So yeah, definitely possible for you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. And again, this is something I said in the beginning. No matter how young you are, there's going to be people sitting here, you're watching a show, maybe you're 18, maybe you're 19, maybe you're in your young 20s, and you're just thinking, man, it's going to be such a long time before I retire. Or on the flip side, there's a lot of you guys who are at or beyond what's a traditional retirement age, and you're thinking, man, it's too late for me to get going. It is never too early or too late. It's always the right time to be thinking about that future. And again, I grew up. I mean, my dad definitely taught me a lot of conversational things to think about with money, and like, make sure you're in savings over here and make sure you set up this for your long-term retirement. But it's very hard. I mean, I'm young, I think, 30, about to turn 31. Coincidentally, my wife had to remind me my birthday's tomorrow. I turned 31 tomorrow. So I'm not old, but I'm not too young. And it's demoralizing, Chris. Like, as a person who's looking at their future and before finding crypto, it is demoralizing. Before finding crypto, it was one of those things. Like, you go back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, Tim was living borderline paycheck to paycheck. Who cares about retirement? But part of the thought process was I was just watching. Like, I remember my dad, like back in the early 2000s, making, I think it was like $90K. Like I have four brothers.
That was good money. That was good money back then.
That was great money. He was single income household. My mom stayed at home, homeschooled all 5 of us kids. My dad was making about $90K. By no means were we living the high life, but we were going on probably 2 vacations a year. I played travel sports. We competed in national speech and debate tournaments. We did a lot, right? $90K now, it's not terrible money if you're single. If you're making $90K and your spouse is also making $90K, okay, cool. You guys can do some things. But a single income household with multiple children at $90K, you're lucky if you're getting a 1-bedroom apartment and able to do anything with your kids. And so you look at those things and you're just like, why am I putting this money into this retirement account knowing it's going to be borderline worthless by the time it's all said and done? And that's where crypto really comes in. Like, first of all, just even day to day, making sure I keep my value up. But now I'm like, when I have my crypto account, I'm looking at my future and saying, man, I can buy $7,000 worth. Let's just say I did 100% Bitcoin every year, right? I can do $7,000 every year. $7,000 of Bitcoin right now compared to where it's going to be in the next 30 years. I can build ridiculous wealth, even just $7,000 a year going into some of the Bitcoin. And that's not even including the chain links and the Ethereums and Solanas and others.
Exactly. You got those pieces where you could get your unicorns and go crazy with it. But I think it's important to remember the conversation is that inflation is not, it is cumulative. So we have this target rate of 2-3%, but if you take 2 or 3% every year for the next 20 years, you're now 60% purchasing power is getting lost if you just put $100,000 in a retirement account and just leave it as cash. And cash has made some pretty good interest rates over the last few years at 5 or 6% if you get lucky in some of those programs, but that's nowhere near keeping up with the cumulative effect of inflation, and everything's getting more expensive. And expect that with these tariffs, you're going to see things just like with COVID are getting more expensive that sometimes necessarily don't need to. You'll watch the price of a Ford will go up as well as the price of a Mercedes. And that's just because that's American capitalism at its finest. And you need to be able to keep up with that. Also, healthcare costs. We've got, I was just, when I was on Yahoo, the piece that was, the segment that was right before me was about Social Security, because the guy that was going for the head of it was in front of the Senate House Committee. And we're talking 2033, it's going to run out of funding. And so that's scary. And that's why we're in a retirement crisis in America. We have a study from Northwest Mutual. It came out. They studied a bunch of people before COVID in 2018 and asked them, how much do you think you need to retire comfortably? And the common answer, the median answer was about $550,000. Fast forward, they just did it last year. The same people, 1.5 million. So in 5 short years, Americans think they need 3 times as much money. And at the same time, in those same 5 years, the average median house of a single family home in the United States, doesn't matter what market you're in, it all evens out. 75% increase in the last 5 years. So it is, when I say the game is rigged, the game is rigged, and you have to think outside the box. You have to start retiring early, and you're never too young or too old to get started. So my daughter's 11. And she, because we lived in Los Angeles, she did some commercials and had some earned income. So I was able to put her into a Roth IRA setting early on with some Bitcoin and Ethereum. And her college is set if she wants to go to college. But this whole generation is doing things that they have a whole different parameter of how they're going to do things. And, I would love to someday, honestly, Tim, have her come on. She could talk this stuff about as good as her dad has, because she just sat and watched me do this for years and years and years. So you're never too young, and you're also never too old to get started in this space, and use the tools the government gave you. They gave you the ability to lower your tax bill by putting in a traditional IRA. They also gave you the ability to avoid capital gains taxes on tradings. And Edward J. Roth from the state of Delaware back in the 70s gave us the Roth IRA because we had a savings crisis in America and incentivized us with tax-free distribution. So these tools are here. You're not doing anything outside the box. You're just using them and getting your favorite assets. We have 85 of them on our platform. And if we don't have the one that you're looking for, let us know. We'll work on getting it added on. We have pretty high security and compliance standards, but we started with 1. That's why we're Bitcoin IRA. We worked all the way to 85. We're always interested, and we listen to our clients for what they're looking for next.
Last question here, and we do need to move on and get into some stuff. We do need to end the show a little early. We got some stuff we got to get done. Got to shoot that SUI video here in a second. But Leslie Herbert said, can you move your crypto into Bitcoin IRA? So instead, do you have to pay with the US dollars, or if you have Bitcoin sitting right now in another exchange, can I just move $7,000 of that over into my Roth IRA over at Bitcoin IRA?
I really wish you could, Leslie. I wish I could go not bang on the door of the IRS and change the rule, but they have a policy that contributions into an IRA must be done in US dollars. Now, what you can do is time this appropriately. So you can open up the account. You can go to bitcoinira.com. We actually have a link for your followers, bitcoinira.com/Broz, BROZ. Or you can call. We have people. We're real crypto, real people. There's not a one size fits all retirement plan. So there's guys and gals waiting that we'll be on the phone with you in about 90 seconds or less at 877-936-7175. And they can walk you through. You open up the account over here that you want to contribute to. So with a traditional Roth, and then you set up your bank account where those proceeds are going to be coming from the liquidation. And this is a sideways market right now. So where it's not like we're running 10, 20% in a day. You can sell on the left, move the cash over very quickly from your bank account on the right, and you'll be buying that the next day. So there is a way to time it effectively. The contributions don't take that long, but unfortunately, I wish I could change that rule. The most popular way to add to your funds, obviously, and a good reminder for the audience, April 15th is the last day you can contribute for the 2024 tax year. And to incentivize and to reward folks for getting in and starting their savings now, we have a program that you'll see when you go to bitcoinira.com/BROZ Bros. There's a reward program. You can earn up to $1,000 in cash, basically cash back, for contributing to your IRA this year.
And kind of quick question here. We're going to move on. I put $7,000 into Bitcoin tomorrow, and then a year from now, I say, I want to switch some of that into Chainlink. Do I get taxed on that transaction? Is that
you're inside your tax sheltered umbrella, no capital gains, no impact. You can trade like crazy. You don't have to wait a year. You could trade in a day. You could trade in 5 years. And we actually have a really cool swap tool. So you don't even have to do 2 transactions. You do 1. Out with the old, in with the new in 1 click.
There we go. Guys, check out that link down below. It is at the top of the description. Go check out and sign up for a Bitcoin Roth IRA account today. And like he said, you still have time to contribute for the 2024 year. And then the very next day on April 16th, you can contribute for the next year. Get the prices down low while you can, because what you don't want to do is wait until December and maybe the price of Bitcoin's at 150, 175, and now all of a sudden $7,000 of Bitcoin is a lot less Bitcoin than buying $7,000 of Bitcoin at, say, $87,000, right? So go act right now. Sign up with that link down below. Chris, before we let you go, we're going to wrap up the show here. But as always, we have, and some of our community's favorite segment of the day, we have what we call the Factoid of the day, and you get to participate with us, and we see if you are right. If you win, you get a giant high five. That's all we pay for winners of this event, but it is a lot of fun. Smay, what do you got for us today, my friend?
Well, hello everybody. It's me. I want to tell you real quick to, anyways, let's jump into the fact of the day brought to you by Decrypted.tax. This is Ferrari themed. They're bumping up their prices, as T-Shroom said. So let's talk engines. Why not? What material did Enzo Ferrari famously say would never be used in a Ferrari engine? A, titanium. B, carbon fiber. C, turbochargers. Or D, aluminum. If you know anything about cars, this one's a layup.
So is this? Do I get to go first?
Yeah.
Are you guys?
Yeah, you
Oh
get
my
the
goodness, a lot of pressure. I know Enzo was very big on raw natural horsepower and turbos, so I'm leaning there. Aluminum, as also known as aluminium in the London world, I'm thinking that was seen as an alloy and somewhat of a not as sturdy of a, but. Yeah, man, I'm torn between C and D. I'm gonna go with C because I think the ego is you don't need a turbocharger with a Ferrari.
Ooh,
right.
I was leaning towards D until you just said that. T-Shirt, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna say B. Bravo. I think I may know a lot less than this crowd here
I'm not a car guy.
about engines, but it seems like carbon fiber might be more prone to melting. So I'm gonna say carbon fiber.
My thought was aluminum. I thought aluminum was too weak to be. And I think aluminum. So we're spread out here, right? Sometimes we pile up on the same answer. B, C, or D. If it's A, then we all are in trouble here. I'm going D. I'm going to go with aluminum, even though I liked your logic for C.
Well, all righty, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, it is C.
We go.
Turbochargers. Let's go, Chris.
Wow, first time on the show, first time winner. Yeah.
Incredible. And guys, usually I have my little fact check, but not today. Why? Because I don't even feel like it. Anyways, back to you guys.
Oh, goodness. Well, once again, everybody, smash that like button if you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you enjoyed having Chris and you wanted to come on again very soon, let us know in the comments. I love getting to talk with Chris again. Met him last year at Bitcoin Conference, Nashville. Very appreciative and thanking the support of Bitcoin IRA for sponsoring the channel. But again, we only take sponsors that we believe in. These are accounts that me and T-Shroom and Smay are all signing up for. You need to go right now, start planning your retirement with crypto. Go sign up for a Bitcoin Roth IRA account right now. Link in the description down below. Chris, we'll see you next time. The rest of you will see you tomorrow. Adios.